Thank you to all of you attendees. I'm extremely happy. I'm really happy to be here with you and to try in my small way to help you with this very important program. It's really very important, and it's something very beneficial, actually, extremely beneficial. Particularly, I do see there's a few of you online who are already initiated. So, it's helpful for everyone, but it's particularly designed and intended, you could say, for devotees who are practicing but haven't been initiated yet. And you've all got the study guide, all 93 pages of it. And I sincerely hope that you've all managed at least glance through it, or, preferably read through it and familiarize yourselves with what we're going to be studying and trying to, really digest and get clear in our minds. So I can just myself tell you, just for the sake of myself saying it, what we're going to be doing over the next few days in the broadest sense. We are meeting today from now. It's 10 o'clock in the morning here in South Africa, and I think maybe we have a devotee or so from Mauritius, maybe. We have one from Denmark via Latvia, and devotees from here and there. So anyway, we're meeting now at this time. Tomorrow, please make a note of this, because it's a little tricky, not very, but a little, is that tomorrow and Tuesday, we are meeting 2 hours earlier. So whatever the time is where you are, please note, because as Bhakti Rasa said, in terms of getting through this small seminar successfully and walking out with a diploma in your hand, you have to attend. And, of course, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we really hope you don't make a mistake about this one. Tomorrow, Sunday, and Tuesday, we will start our program 2 hours earlier. So whatever time it is where you are, if it's South Africa, means 8 in the morning. If you're in Mauritius, I guess it means 10 your time, but whatever it is, 2 hours, right? That's tomorrow, Sunday, and then Tuesday. And then Monday, we're having a short session in the evening. And Bhakti Rasa, you might have to remind me, what time is it? Is it 6 to 7?
It's 6:30 to 7:30, Srila Gurudev.
Oh, so please make a note of that and imprint it in your minds, please, because, really, we really want to see you all get through this and walk out with your diploma. We really do. And I know many of you, and particularly those of you who I know you're quite capable of it. This is not rocket science, spiritual rocket science. It really isn't. It's really doable. So on Monday, day after tomorrow, well, it's South African time, 6:30 to 7:30. If you're somewhere else, if you're like Radha Shakti and she's in the United States somewhere, Washington, D.C., no, gosh, I hate to think what time it's going to be. But anyway, it'll
2
be
a.m. Day.
2 a.m. Oh, congratulations. Oh, Krishna. And apologies. Yeah. So have you all got that? Anyway, you're all intelligent, capable people, and I'm sure you're all taking notes. And gosh, you definitely need to. So please, for your own sakes, please do note these times. Tomorrow, Sunday and Tuesday, 2 hours earlier than whatever it is today where you are. And Monday, 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening, South African time. Okay, there we go. That's that. Now sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is it possible to record? If you can make me a co-host, I can do so on my side as well.
You can record. I am recording.
Okay.
On OBS.
Okay.
But you are, it would be a very good idea.
Yeah.
It would just be an excellent idea because, things can happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you need to either make me a co-host in order to allow me permission.
All right. Let me just, what do I do? Make co-host. Just make co-host.
Yes.
So make co-host. You are co-host now, it says.
Thank you.
You got it.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Good on you. Thank you. So, okay, next thing I want to say, and this is just from me to you, is don't stress. Stressing is against the rules. And it's really unnecessary because the great majority, if not all, of what we're doing is pretty basic Krishna consciousness in regard to things to do with spiritual masters and disciples. Like I said, it's not rocket science. And we will do our level best to make things clear in, digestible ways and not try to dazzle you with esoteric knowledge, which is not really essential. So, like I said, I do hope that you have at least glanced through your ISKCON Disciple Course, IDC. The name of the file is BCAIS Education ISKCON Disciple Course .pdf. I would extremely strongly advise you. Well, first of all, I really hope, and I think you have all got this file. I think you all got it some days ago. Can you open it up? Because we are going to follow this step by step. We're going to follow this. It's the file which the first page of is the beautiful painting of Srila Prabhupada receiving initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur back in, whenever it was, I forget. It may have been 1926, but it was back at that time. So if you've got that, open it, because we're going to go step by step through it and looking at all the different things, the verses which are quoted and the points which are being made. So that's the first page. The second page is the beautiful photograph of Srila Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana in Paris in, I think it was 1976, but anyway, he's sitting on this big Vyasasana, really big, in Paris. And there's a quote from Prabhupada there. Let me just read the quote. Prabhupada saying, "Go on cooperating in this way, and I am sure this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be successful. It must be successful because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted it to be done. Simply we, the workers, the servitors, must be very sincere. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give us more and more facilities so that we can work very well. So keep this mission always in view and do your best. That is my only request." So, none of us are spiritual supermen or superwomen. We're not even spiritual batmen or batwomen. As Prabhupada says, do your best. That is my only request. And that's my request too. Do your best. Okay, then third page is just the title, ISKCON Disciple Course Students Handbook, 5th edition, Gorpanima 2017. And at the bottom, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Then there's some credits. Next page, that's page 2, according to the numbering of the pages, as numbered at the center bottom of each page. Then the next page is welcome. So, welcome. I don't think, let me just draw out a few points. I am still on page 3. And it's just the welcome page. And I don't think there's anything. Well, let's just look at one thing. The second paragraph on page 3, the page which, there's a whole lot of type matter there, and the heading is welcome, ! At the top. So let's just have a look at the second paragraph. The ISKCON Disciples Course is a training program which is meant to help you deepen your understanding of Guru Tattva. Just means what is a guru and who is a guru and what are the qualifications of someone to be a guru. Guru Tattva. Tattva in this context basically means like philosophy, or concepts. And Guru Pad Ashraya. This means, Guru Pad, Pada means feet, and Ashraya means shelter. And so Guru Pad Ashraya basically means taking shelter. You could say how to take shelter, but in the broad sense, taking shelter of the feet of the spirit of a spiritual master within the multiple guru culture of ISKCON. We have currently, and I'm a member of the Guru Services Committee, but I can't tell you exactly how many gurus we have, but it's in the vicinity of 100. So that's a multiple guru culture. It's not like when Prabhupada was present and it was a single guru culture of ISKCON. Now it's a very multiple guru culture. So then continuing, it is designed for new devotees preparing to take initiation. But it's also recommended for leaders, preachers, counselors, and educators in ISKCON. And, like we noted, there's a number of already initiated devotees here with us today. And, I wouldn't be surprised, even though you've probably read Prabhupada's books extensively and you know a lot about these things, but there's probably some things for you to learn also from what we're going to go through in the next couple of hours or thereabouts. So then the fourth paragraph, the ISKCON Disciple Course, is based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, of course, and current ISKCON law, which basically means the application of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada in this regard, in regard to what's a guru and how to take shelter of a guru and be a disciple. So how to put it into practice. That's current ISKCON law, what to do, what not to do. And then also there's some reference to the writings from our previous acharyas, the broader Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And the next the rest of the page, it's just thanking different devotees who helped. And I was surprised to see that my name's there too. Oh, well, anyway, sorry about that. And at the end, it's the main person putting it all together is Anutama Prabhu, our ISKCON minister of communications, and he's also, along with me, a member of the Guru Services Committee. Okay, so on to page 4, and I'll just touch on very briefly what's there, just so you know what sort of path we're going to be following for the next 4 days. There's 4 units, Unit 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Today, as Bhakti Rasa Devi Dasi said, we will focus on Unit 1, which is Introduction, some theory and context. I mean, we're in the middle of an introduction right now, and we're just shortly we'll get into some of the concepts and all that. What is referred to here as theory, it's not exactly theory, but it's just background information. So here, welcoming you, introducing what we're going to go into, just, I would say probably, in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, is information about Guru Tattva, means the philosophy. What is a guru? Who is a guru? Who is not a guru? And things like this, how to recognize gurus. And then parampara, the system of disciplic succession. That's the second part we'll get into. What is the disciplic succession? The importance, the necessity of it. That's lesson 2, then lesson 3 today. Information about Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. And then some sort of introduction to the ISKCON Gurus and what they're about. Then Unit 2 of course, we'll see how it all goes. We might or might not finish Unit 1 today. We're not in a big rush, but we will likely finish it today, and then tomorrow, Sunday, 2 hours earlier than the time we started today, we'll go further into the whole subject, establishing your relationship with a guru. The importance of doing that, then how to select. Like I said, we've got something like 100 gurus, at least 95, 96, but I think there's probably a few more than 100. So you've got to make a selection, at least in terms of who is going to give you initiation. Right. So that will go through, we assume tomorrow. Then the initiation vows and, sort of the technical aspects of the actual initiation ceremony and in general, what's involved in being an initiated devotee. Then Unit 3, different activities in terms of your relationship with your guru, Guru Puja, the worship of the Guru, Guru Seva, serving the spiritual master. And in that regard, Guru Vapu and Vani Seva, because the Guru is present in two forms, the physical form and the form of the instructions. Vapu is the physical form, Vani is the form in the form of the instructions, and serving the Guru in those two aspects of his the part he plays in your life. And then lesson 11, Guru Tyaga. Tyaga actually means renunciation. And the thing is, it's a little bit of it is an unpleasant subject. It's something which is rare, but it has happened because the material world's just a really difficult place. So sometimes a person who has been a guru may cease to function as a guru due to inability to maintain the standards. And then you, the disciple, may possibly have to reject the guru. So, it's something you need to have an understanding of, although, like I said, it really is very rare, although it has happened. And then Unit 4, the last section, which we assume we'll get to on Tuesday morning, which is, of course, it's a holiday here in South Africa. So, at 8 o'clock South African time, we'll get into it in the morning. Presenting one's guru means in public. Yeah. In a situation where probably there are disciples of other gurus present, and other gurus may be present. Yeah, so how to present your guru in a kind of very public ISKCON type of social environment. Then lesson 13, relationships of different types between disciples of different gurus, relationships, your relationship with other ISKCON gurus, these types of things. And then lesson 14 is just some concluding matters. Then some appendixes, some additional, there's a whole lot of quotations. We'll be going through a whole lot of quotations up to this point, through till the end of Unit 4. They're generally quotations from Srila Prabhupada, the vast majority. So some additional ones, just some further sort of background information, generally from Prabhupada. Then appendix number 2, the GBC statement on the position of Prabhupada. GBCs being generally the most senior devotees, or at least some of them, in ISKCON. And so the GBC body has made a statement or different statements, even at different times, on who is Prabhupada, what's his position, how should we all see him, even if we're not, I'm an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but I'm the only one here in this gathering today. Then mandatory qualifications of a devotee to become a guru, an initiating guru in ISKCON. Standards, number 4, standards of conduct for ISKCON gurus. You should be aware of that. The qualifications for becoming initiated in ISKCON, number 5. And then number 6, it's connected. I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Lesson 11, noted above, Guru Tyaga, rejection of a fallen guru. We don't expect that you're going to have to actually deal with such a situation, but we need to know about it. Then harmonizing ISKCON's lines of authority, because there are gurus, there are GBCs, there are temple presidents, there are temple, the authorities within a temple or a yatra, like who's the head pujari and in charge of this and in charge of that, and how to know how to interact with all these different types of people in appropriate ways. Then number 8 is the GBC resolution on this course we're doing right now, and 9 principles for creating a Diksha Guru system for ISKCON with the multiple gurus, whatever it is, 100 or so. Then number 10, classroom norms for us. We are in a virtual classroom right now. Normally this seminar is presented live, face to face, but we're doing it in a virtual setting. And then a further reading, some other things you can check out. And then look at this on page 5, Unit 1. Here we are. We are now starting in earnest, the actual subject matter, going into it. And so these are the sort of the sections and subsections we're going to be looking at today. Okay. So welcome and introduction. I'm in the middle of doing that basically, but there's a bit more to come. And then I'll get into explaining some of the concepts, some of the things you're going to be tested on, devotees, but in simple ways. In simple ways, we are not going to stress you with all sorts of complex questions and things like that. I've been through all of this in the last few days, and I think it's been put together very nicely in ways which are accessible to any devotee, basically, and understandable. for anyone who's been practicing Krishna consciousness, I mean, just for a few months even. So yeah, lesson 2 we'll go through. We already mentioned Guru Tattva. There are different types of gurus. Then we mentioned already Parampara, the disciplic succession, and then refuting the Ritvik theory. We'll go into that when we get there. I mean, you know, you do get some people who are at least sort of on the periphery of ISKCON, but they come up with their own bright ideas about initiation. Yeah, and the main small group, I mean, it's a very small group of people who do have some other idea about initiation and have tried over the years to promote it. They're called Ritviks. Then lesson 3, we'll dive into the subject of who's Prabhupada, what is the position of Prabhupada, what is his function, and just who and what is Prabhupada, and the part he plays in ISKCON today. Like today, the 18th of March, 2023. And then following understanding Prabhupada, lesson 4, we'll be going into talking about who and what are the ISKCON gurus, what their consciousness is or should be, and I mean what it is generally. Then dealing with instructions you get from your guru, because you will get instructions from your guru, and then instructions that you'll get from ISKCON, like the temple president, for example. So, you know, we got to deal, sometimes we'll get, it's possible to get conflicting instructions. It's more just about practical service. Should you cook prasadam today, or should you go out and distribute books today? What should you do? And how to balance instructions that you'll get from different sources. And then finally, in lesson 4, dealing with people who are gurus or who are accepted as being gurus, but they're not members of Prabhupada, they're not followers of Prabhupada. They're from different organizations, different traditions. Yeah, and so the main point there is they are really, all of them without exception, they're in different spaces. Then they have many different understandings of Krishna consciousness, even of Krishna himself, different from what Prabhupada has and what we receive from representatives of Prabhupada, means our guru and others like the temple authorities, etc., who are followers of Srila Prabhupada. So there you go. That's page 5. Now, devotees, page 6, look at it. We got, so this is now, we are now into lesson 1. Welcome and introduction. You know, I think we've given you sufficient welcome, but here we get into now like practical introduction regarding what we're doing today. So there you see, first thing is lesson topics. And so there's 4 of them, right, within that box there. Classroom norms, principles and values, course broad aims, and how you are going to be assessed when the tests come. because the test really is going to come. And we want you to get through it successfully. And, I'm confident you're all capable of doing that. Right, okay. So that's the list there of what we're going to look at in lesson 1. And so now into it. So first is the norms. In the list of 4 there, classroom norms. So here they are. Norms for classroom behavior. And it says there, see Appendix 9, page 86. This course and the manual, this is the instruction manual, it's all in the process of development. So, my dear devotees, you'll find the list of norms. Please make a note of this. You really need to. Not in Appendix 9 on page 86. You will find it in Appendix 10 on page 89. Haribol. It's a work in progress. Don't panic. But just if you can just scroll down to page 89. I assume you're using some sort of device where it's not so difficult to scroll up and down and all that. Let's just have a look. It's these norms for classroom behavior. I must admit, they have a lot of them are there in the context of a live face-to-face seminar of the disciple course, which of course we're not doing. But anyway, let's just read through them. So I assume you're there by now, right? You have zoomed down your manual to page 89. Well done. And so we have there, what do we have? We have 11. So first one will be present for the entire course. And, this is important. We already mentioned how, Bhakti Rasa Devi Dasi said we're taking, or she has taken already, the names, just to make sure everyone's here. Sometimes when we do seminars, any type of seminar. I'm doing Bhakti Vaibhava seminar online, and I know some of you are taking it. I did recently, or later last year, the Vaishnav etiquette seminar. And sometimes people, they come and go. They're there one day, they're not there the next day. Because anyway, you know what life is like. Things crop up and you may have to do something else when there's a session of a seminar going on. But now in this case, there's only the 4 sessions. It really is simple. And for your own sake, so you can actually do the whole seminar, successfully do the test, come out with your diploma, and then you can be initiated. So you need to be present for the entire course, really. So, we'll raise hands to contribute. Of course, that's particularly when you're in a face-to-face version of the seminar. But we will, as we go through, you can raise your hand electronically or in one way or another when you want to ask a question. In other words, we will not just have a session at the end where we take the questions, but you can raise if you've got a question, at a particular point on a subject we're discussing right at that moment, feel free to ask a question, and we'll do our best to deal with it as we go, not just at the end. So, we value your contributions. Don't be afraid to raise, particularly to ask a question. No side conversations, please. I mean, it's a little tricky on Zoom to do that, but anyway, no side conversations. And no phone calls, please, making or receiving. We'll observe confidentiality. I mean, generally speaking, it's all just open information, so, you don't have to worry about that so much. And, even if you're a temple president or something like that, or even if you've been a devotee a long time, you are all equal as students in this course. You are all equal. But we respect the right of an individual to withdraw without stating reasons from any exercise which makes them feel unduly uncomfortable. I mean, I would be very, very surprised if that happens, but, if it does, there you go. And, we'll take it seriously, take responsibility for being successful in the seminar. We'll confront issues or behavior, not people. Anyway, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that so much. And we'll honor any agreement reached. So there you go. Those are the norms. And back again to where we were. Let's see. On page, what was it, 6 or 4 or something. Here we are. Back on page 6. So that was the norms. You see there. That was the norms for classroom behavior. If you want to go back and have a look at them later, then just make a point that it's not Appendix 9, page 86, but it's Appendix 10, page 89. Then the broad aims, the broadest aim is to make sure that people who become initiated, in other words, they become official disciples, so-and-so Das, or so-and-so Devi Dasi, that they really are up to the standard in terms of understanding what it means to be a disciple and to have a guru, and who is Prabhupada. So that's the idea in the broadest sense, because, I can say, having been a member of ISKCON for a little over 50 years now, since January the 7th, 1973, and having been a guru, having accepted disciples for the first time was in December 1990 that I personally accepted disciples. I've seen many times when there's not a system like this of the devotees really having it explained clearly what it's all about, sometimes we've had in the past at least, going back, particularly to Prabhupada's time, you would get disciples who didn't know Prabhupada's pranam mantras. and who just didn't understand what it means to be a disciple, who really didn't understand. So that's what we want to do and we're still in this section here with the darker background and the wordings in white. So how are we going to improve the quality of disciples, have better disciples? Is by, number one, understanding the principles of discipleship as presented by Prabhupada, and also in the broader Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition coming from Lord Caitanya, and appreciate, and this is really important, the unique context of how all these things are applied in Prabhupada's ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Yeah, this is a very specific context for being a disciple, having a guru, and for having someone like Prabhupada there as the founder Acharya. So then, number two, applying these principles, because number one, it said, understanding the long-standing principles of discipleship. So number two, applying these principles so that everyone can have healthy, constructive relationships with their particular guru and other gurus and other senior devotees, and know how to act in these different relationships. It's a little bit of a science. It's not, like I said, it's not rocket science, but there are considerations which we need to familiarize ourselves with. Then number three, to develop the values and attitudes required of a disciple. And then number four, cooperatively serve Krishna and his various representatives in order to perpetuate Prabhupada's teachings and mission through personal example and instruction. I mean, that's really good. It's really nice. It's just really nice. What we're all, and you all, are now in the process of developing here. The broad aims of the course. Now, we go on to the next one is the aims. The broad aim, the aims, okay. The aims of the disciple course. I mean, you'll see there's a little square. In what ways could I improve as a disciple? I think you, Bhakti Rasa Devi Dasi, are you going to be working with this more?
So Srila Gurudev, yes, so we're going to go over it with the students, but we've got specific discussion points and homework for them.
Okay.
For the 2 days that filters into certain aspects of the course, and that will also assist in the MCQs.
Right. Okay. So yeah, are you a facilitator? Is that what you're called? Or what are you called?
I think we are class facilitators.
Okay. So they will be helping you. I'll be giving the basic ideas, and then they will be helping you with details, or more or less like that. That's after I have made my presentation every day. So then course principles and values. Well, okay. So let's just run through this quickly. Prabhupada is the preeminent Siksha Guru, allegiance to ISKCON and the Parampara disciplic succession, respect for multiple authorities, senior Vaishnavas, a considerate selection of guru, not a fanatical selection. You making your selection of who's going to be your guru in a considerate and a considered way, and not just sentimental way, or just because the particular person happens to be popular locally or whatever it may be. You have to make your personal selection. Then when you've done that, how to accept the instructions of your guru. And then commitment to your vows. You have to vow to chant 16 rounds and not eat meat, fish, eggs, and so on, and refrain from illicit sex life, etc., the 4 regulative principles. So your commitment to your vows and to the mission of Prabhupada, then the necessity for having good sadhana, basic practices like chanting your rounds, etc., and generally good conduct, a balanced lifestyle, then making inquiries, important part of being a disciple, developing humility and a service attitude. And then number 9, favorable association as opposed to unfavorable, being able to discern, who's good association, who isn't. And I mean, in the most basic sense, generally, the majority of devotees are good association. And the non-devotees are not good association. Yeah. But there's some subtleties involved. Then inclusivity, cooperation, and then cultivation and propagation of the holy names. Okay. And then the 4th part of this first little lesson 1, the welcome and introduction, the 4th part is the assessment. How are you going to be assessed? What test or tests will there be? And I can inform you that, as I've been informed, at least by those who are managing this whole thing, I'm not really managing it. I'm just trying to explain the philosophy and the things you need to know. But the managers have told me there will be one assessment which will be open book. Open book, there you go. It's pretty straightforward. And Bhakti Rasa Devi Dasi, you can tell me if I've got this right, but I was told there will be 40 multiple choice questions and 5 questions where you'll have to write something. I mean, not like an essay or at length, but maybe a paragraph, something like that. According to what you're aware of, is that accurate, Bhakti Rasa?
Hare Krishna Srila Gurudev, correct. It is open book. You'll even see in the course assessment that you're going through now, it actually guides the students. So that additional homework is for them to do. And yes, so there are questions where they'll have to answer, but they don't have to write PhD. They're not writing for their PhDs. So very short, brief answers.
Okay.
And then of course the rest is the questions. But everything from their guide. And of course they can do additional reading as well to help them. But all open books, so they should be fine.
All right. All righty. So there you go, devotees. And what I'll do now, well, on what is it, page 8. Please turn to page 8 if you're not there already. It says open book assessment, closed book assessment. Just overlook that, okay? Don't worry about that. In terms of assessment, we have just told you the basic idea how you're going to be assessed. So just you don't even need to read what it says there, open book assessment or closed book assessment. Don't worry. But the third little paragraph, you will receive an ISKCON Disciple Course certificate at the end if you pass. I think you're meant to get, is it 65%? What is it? Bhakti Rasa?
I will confirm, Gurudev, but I think it is 65.
Okay, anyway, I think it's 65. So, okay, now, now Unit 1. We are in Unit 1 right now. You're going to need to know these two things, similarities and differences between the two main categories of Guru. Then you're going to, in Guru Padashraya, you'll have to explain Guru Padashraya in ISKCON, how Prabhupada functions as preeminent Siksha Guru and founder Acharya. Why is it important that Prabhupada remains as such into the future? Briefly describe with reference to current ISKCON law, appropriate methods of worship of Prabhupada and ISKCON gurus, current and future. And then something about ISKCON gurus. But let's just go actually into it. Units 2 and 3, when we get to them in the upcoming days, we'll explain these things. Don't worry about it right at this moment. For Units 2 and 3 and Unit 4, don't worry about that at the moment. When we're actually going through those units, which will not be today, then, we'll have an introductory look at them when we get there. So now, please, devotees, dear devotees, please go to page 10, lesson 2. Guru Tattva and Parampara. So here we are. We are launching into the philosophy now for things you need to learn or familiarize yourselves with. So we already mentioned like 10 or 15 minutes ago, Guru Tattva, what's a guru, how to recognize one, types of gurus. Then what is the Parampara system, disciplic succession, and a bit of fun refuting the posthumous Ritvik theory. So that's what we're going into right now. Now you see next, there's this box where you are meant to write in your own words the position of Guru, after we've discussed it. Not right now, because it's very likely you're not quite ready. We have to discuss Guru Tattva first, and then you'd be able to fill out that little box and explain in your own words the position of Guru. So now we move on to page 11. And this is where we first really dive into the subject matter. So the way it's been put together, you'll see there's Guru Tattva there on the top left. Then the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Yeah. This is the first thing that you need to digest in terms of Guru Tattva. Who is a guru? What is a guru? How should you see the guru? How the guru should be. So we see here that our devotees who have put the course together have quoted 2 verses. The first one is from Caitanya Charitamrita. It's Adi Lila chapter 1, verse 45. And the second verse is from the Bhagavatam, 11:17-27. So this is the idea. It has been referred to. Where was it referred to? It was referred to somewhere as theory. I mean, in a sense, you could say it's theory. I forget exactly where it was. It's on page 4. It says, Unit 1, Introduction, Theory and Context. I mean, we would say it is not exactly theory. This is our philosophy. This is Krishna consciousness, that the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. In other words, non-different means a type of form of Krishna. And in fact, this is what this first verse says. The first verse from the Caitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Rupa Hana, Shastrera Pramane, Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa, Karena Bhaktagane. Here's the translation. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. And notice the capital H means delivers Krishna's devotees. And the relationship of a disciple with his or her spiritual master is as good as his or her relationship with the Supreme Lord. I mean, you will find, just as a sort of cultural point, that the masculine gender is used a lot in regards to disciples, that the disciple with his spiritual master, it's just in a generic sense, if you know what I mean by that. It's definitely not that it is expected or that it is true that the majority of the disciples of any given spiritual master, the majority or all are male, because it's just not the fact. In fact, I can tell you, I have a good few disciples, I think, and actually the majority of them are female. In fact, the majority are actually female. So the relationship of a disciple with his or her spiritual master is as good as his or her relationship with the Lord. In other words, in a certain sense, you can understand how is your relationship with Krishna developing by just looking at your relationship with your spiritual master and seeing how your relationship with your spiritual master is developing. At least it's a rule of thumb. Yeah, at least it's a rule of thumb. So now the second verse there from the Bhagavatam, this is in fact Krishna speaking. The first verse there from Caitanya Charitamrita, that is from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Caitanya Charitamrita. He is giving his explanation, which, is just absolutely first class and perfect. But it's just an interesting little point that the second verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, it is Lord Krishna speaking to Uddhava. This part of the 11th canto is called the Uddhava Gita. There's a whole series of verses. Not just verses, but there's a whole series of chapters in the 11th canto where Krishna is instructing Uddhava. And in a certain sense, it's considered to be the follow-on from Bhagavad Gita, from Krishna instructing Arjuna. It's like the next step is we should read the Uddhava Gita, because it's specifically expanding the instructions Krishna gave Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. The Uddhava Gita in the 11th canto is specifically expanding on Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so anyway, that verse, let me just read the translation. Krishna is speaking. One should know the Acharya means your spiritual master. You should know your spiritual master as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. So in other words, back on the previous page there, 10, where you've got that little box and there's the sort of question above it, briefly explain in your own words the position of guru. That is part of it. That's not the whole thing, but it's a pretty good first step for understanding, as the question says, for explaining in your own words the position of guru. That the spiritual master, the guru, is non-different from Krishna in these ways. So note that. So on we go. We'll just briefly touch on each of these verses. So next point being made, and then the devotees have compiled this manual. They've taken this from the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7:15-26, that if one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one is doomed. Sure, that's heavy, isn't it? Anyway, we'll be going through these different verses that are following, and they will give perspective on such ideas. Yeah, I think, I'm sure, which will help you digest these points. But they really are important points. So Prabhupada said there, in that purport, which the quote has been extracted from, 7:15-26, it's recommended that one honor the spiritual master as being on an equal status with the Lord. Sakshad Hari Tvenasa Shastrai. That, I imagine you recognize that line from the Gauravastakam, which we sing at Mangal Arati. It's the 7th verse. And what it means, just a literal translation, Sakshad means directly, and Hari is Krishna, directly Hari. The spiritual master is taken to be on an equal status with Hari, with Krishna. Samasta Shastriya means, Samasta means all, and Shastriya means scripture. This is enjoined in every scripture. And then interesting, in that purport, Prabhupada quotes this, the verse we were just looking at a minute or two ago, Bhagavatam 11:17-27, Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Acharya mam. Mam means me. The Acharya should be understood, you could say, to be me. One should consider the Acharya to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, if in spite of all these instructions, one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one's doomed. So in the next few minutes, I'll give you a sort of a context, a perspective for these points. But I can just inform you, just for your information, and it's not part of the course. You're not going to be tested on it, as far as I'm aware. I certainly don't expect it at all. But do you know what? After Lord Caitanya left this world, well, let's say, after Prabhupada left this world, and those who are current gurus in ISKCON today, they became gurus. Some devotees lamented that, oh no, we wish Prabhupada was still present so we could get initiated by him. Why do we have to be initiated by these people who are his disciples? Means current day gurus in ISKCON. They really felt they missed out because they weren't able to be initiated by Prabhupada. And in a certain sense, we appreciate the sentiment. Prabhupada's such an extraordinary guru and person and devotee. But devotees, listen to this. When Prabhupada became guru, because for however many years, certainly when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was physically present, Prabhupada was not a guru. He didn't initiate anyone. He was a householder most of the time, or actually the whole time that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was physically present. But then later, Prabhupada began initiating. And when he started initiating, there were devotees who thought, oh, why do we have to get initiated by this Bhaktivedanta Swami, means Prabhupada? Why couldn't we be initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta? Oh, we missed out. We missed out on being initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Then, devotees, listen to this. See if you can get this. After Lord Caitanya left this world, there were devotees who thought, oh, we have to be initiated by the 6 Goswamis. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and particularly actually Jiva Goswami. Oh, why couldn't we be initiated by Lord Caitanya or Lord Nityananda? Oh gosh, we missed out. Anyway, that's those types. I'm just telling you for a little background, historical and social, spiritual background. It's just, sure. From generation to generation of gurus, there is the tendency to underestimate the new generation. And, to think that, oh, we missed out. In the case of devotees like yourselves, some devotees may feel, oh, we missed out on being initiated by Prabhupada. And in fact, I saw it with my own eyes, that like in the weeks and months after Prabhupada had left this world, 1977, there were many devotees who just broke down that, oh my God, we missed out on being initiated by Prabhupada. But having said that, you're all aware, I'm sure every single one of you is aware, that Kadamba Maharaj, who was a guru in ISKCON, just left this world. And he was not a disciple of Prabhupada. He was a disciple of one of Prabhupada's disciples, Jayadvaita Maharaj. So he's the next generation down the line from those who are gurus now, but they are actually initiated disciples of Srila Prabhupada personally. But the thing is, and I know a number of others, I won't mention names, but I know a number of others who are disciples of Prabhupada. But like in the case of Kadamba Maharaj, what a great spiritual master he was. I mean, he still is in a certain sense, because we're all eternal persons, but unfortunately he's not physically present now. So in that sense, we would say he was initiating. And wow, he's a great devotee, and some of his disciples are really great devotees. So in this way, we can see that as the generations go on and the new generation of disciples become gurus, as long as they're serious devotees, which, practically always they're extremely serious devotees, they can do the service of being gurus and really help deliver devotees into pure Krishna consciousness. So anyway, that's just sort of by the way. So you can see the way Prabhupada puts it in this purport, that if you consider, like a current spiritual master in good standing, that, he's not really up to being a spiritual master, then, Prabhupada puts it very strongly, doesn't he? You're doomed in Krishna consciousness. So now to elaborate a little further, it's really important. I mean, it's a very important point, and it's a really deep point. And, it's a little subtle. So Prabhupada, the next quote, when he does his business perfectly, he's perfect. This is from a class of Prabhupada's on his Vyasa Puja Day, 1972. And Prabhupada just makes the point that the postman may bring you, like a check. I wouldn't think he'd bring you $100 cash, because particularly in South Africa, someone in the post office would steal the cash. But a check made out to you for $100 or for some money. Your friend or your boss or whoever it is sent you some money. So the postman just delivers it. He doesn't add, $1. He doesn't take $1 or anything. He just delivers it. And that's his perfection, that he just delivers. That's his perfection, Prabhupada says. And the postman, as an individual, he may have imperfections of different sorts. But when he does his business of just delivering, perfectly. He's a perfect deliverer. So, yeah. So that's the first point. Just bear that in mind in regard to gurus and gurus today. So there's sort of a sequence here developing this point from quotation to quotation. So the next one, persons who are less qualified or not liberated, they can still act as guru. Isn't that interesting? And this is now from a letter of Prabhupada's from 1968. And let's just have a look at what Prabhupada says. The statements of Thakur Bhaktivinoda are as good as scriptures because he is a liberated person. Generally, the spiritual master comes from the group of such eternal associates of the Lord. In other words, well, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself said that he was a Manjari. And I forget his name as a Manjari, means he descended from Goloka Vrindavan and carried out his service of preaching and being a spiritual master. So generally, the spiritual master comes from such a group, people who descend from the kingdom of God. But anyone who follows the principles of such ever-liberated persons is as good as a person in the above-mentioned group, those who descend from the kingdom of God. A person who is liberated Acharya and Guru cannot commit any mistake. Someone like Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Prabhupada. They are beyond the possibility of making any mistake because they are already liberated souls. But, now here comes the important point. There are persons who are less qualified or not liberated, but they can still act as guru and acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession. So what does that mean, strictly following the disciplic succession? It means two things. One, conducting themselves properly according to the standards of Krishna consciousness, particularly given by Srila Prabhupada. Particularly, yeah. Or in a broader sense, you can say, given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, given in Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. But in the most particular sense, living according to the instructions of Srila Prabhupada properly. Yeah. So even if, it's arguable it's certainly arguable he didn't descend from the kingdom of God as an associate of the Lord to be a guru, but he's someone who became a devotee and has now become a very good devotee and properly practicing. That person can be a guru according to the standard of their activities. And second point, according to the instructions they're giving. In other words, if they're giving the proper instructions, then such a person can act as guru and acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession. And, I don't want to start making evaluations of current day gurus, because I know many. I really know a lot of them. And some of them I know extremely well for many years. So, but, it is arguable that many of them are in that category. They're very good sadhakas, and they're giving very good, bona fide, proper instructions. but they didn't actually descend from Goloka Vrindavan like Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, this is a very important point to note. And now the point is going to be developed further in this next quotation. If you follow, this is now bottom of page 11. I assume you're with me there. If you follow the pure devotee, then you are also a pure devotee. And this is from a class by Prabhupada, 1968. So I'll just read what Prabhupada says. So if you follow pure devotee, then you're also pure devotee. Means if you follow properly the pure devotee, not sort of part-time or, to some degree, but if you actually follow the pure devotee, then you are also pure devotee. It may not be that one is 100% pure. Because we're trying to raise ourselves from the conditional life. But if we strictly follow the pure devotee, then we're also pure devotee. So far we do, that is pure. So pure devotee does not mean one has to become immediately 100% pure. But if he sticks to the principle that we'll follow a pure devotee, then his actions are, he is as good as a pure devotee. Now, I hope you're getting these points. I mean, like I said earlier, if any of you want to raise any questions, comments, particularly questions, do something. Raise your hand, say something in the chat, tell Bhakti Rasa and she can tell me. But, we are not trying to just push something down your throats here. We want you to really be able to digest it and, assimilate this within your hearts. And if there's just, clarification, if there's a doubt, raise it. Raise it. Don't be afraid. Or even afterwards, if you're thinking about things and afterwards something comes to mind, you can write to us. And I assume like Bhakti Rasa, who's here on behalf of the management, she'll forward it to me. Because we really want you to get this and come out, informed and satisfied. So that was the bottom of page 11. And, they're good points. They're really good points. There's more to come, don't worry. Along the same similar types of lines. But when it comes to Guru Tattva, who is a guru? What is a guru? What is the position of a guru? Well, in a sense, not all gurus, there are differences between gurus. Each guru is an individual. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see that one guru, like today in ISKCON, one guru puts more emphasis on one thing and another guru puts more emphasis on another thing. Because gurus are people. So, okay. That's like an introduction, I would say, to Guru Tattva. Who can be a guru? What is a guru? How should we see gurus? How should we understand someone who's a guru? And we should try to do as was described there. I mean, I can say, as someone who's been living as a guru for 30-something years now, I regard this selection of quotations as being basically to the point and very good. Yeah. But, some clarification may be beneficial, and we are here to do that. So, okay, now the next thing we go into is, we go over to page 12, of course, and it is, the next section is types of gurus. And as you'll see in the little box there, two main types of gurus are presented. Now, like I said earlier, I don't know if you caught it, this instruction book is a work in progress. And there is more to be said. There are more types of gurus, and we will explain them. First of all, though, let's just go through these two, because in a certain sense, they're the two main types. In a certain sense, not absolutely, but in a certain sense. So there's the Diksha Guru and the Siksha Guru. Diksha means initiating guru. And Siksha Guru, the word Siksha means instruction. And a Siksha Guru does not give you initiation. He may give others initiation. I mean, in many cases he will. But for you, who are initiated by another Diksha Guru, this Guru, the Siksha Guru, will simply give instruction. Yeah. So those are the fundamental differences. Diksha Guru, Diksha means initiation. The Guru who initiates, and Siksha Guru means the Guru who only gives instruction. The Diksha Guru, have a look there. The first sort of, what would you say, function, the first function of the Diksha Guru, generally, not absolutely in 100% of cases, but generally gives instruction. Just like you see there, the Siksha Guru, the first point is, gives instruction. So in other words, it is quite unusual for the Diksha Guru to not also be, your Diksha Guru, to not also be a Siksha Guru for you. In fact, generally speaking, particularly, in the ISKCON situation now, someone would only accept a Diksha Guru as their initiating guru if they had already received instruction from the Diksha Guru and felt that, yes, I like these instructions. This person is helping me, so I want to be initiated by this person. I can give, a very interesting and important example. That is Lord Caitanya. He was initiated. He was an initiated devotee. He was initiated by a devotee named Ishvara Puri. But before he was initiated by Ishvara Puri, Ishvara Puri came and stayed at his parents' place in Mayapur. And so therefore, and stayed for weeks. And so Lord Caitanya, he had many discussions with Ishvara Puri. and he felt that he got good instruction from Ishvarapuri. He was impressed by Ishvarapuri and his instructions. So later on, in fact, it was some months later, when Lord Chaitanya's father left this world, and Lord Chaitanya went to Gaya in Bihar to do the last rites for his father, that he met Ishvarapuri again. And having been very impressed with him before, and then meeting him later and getting some more instructions, then Lord Chaitanya decided, yes, I want to be initiated by this person. And he was. He was initiated by Ishvarapuri. So generally, I mean, it's not absolutely, but in the great majority of cases, a devotee accepts someone as Diksha Guru. They accept initiation from a certain devotee, having received the association of that devotee also as a Siksha Guru. I hope that's clear. You know, it happens sometimes someone accepts a devotee as their Diksha Guru just on the basis of reputation or something like that. Or just that the person sings very nice kirtan, or, you know, it happens. It's not that it never happens, but it's not really the way it's meant to work. You are meant to accept someone as your Diksha Guru. You're meant to be initiated by a person who you feel that this person is giving good instructions. And I like getting this person's instructions and guidance. And on that basis, I want to accept this person as my initiating spiritual master. So, okay, that was the first point there in regard to Diksha Guru. And one accepts only, you accept only one person as Diksha Guru. Unless, I mean, it happens like when Prabhupada left this world, there were many devotees who had received first initiation from him, but then suddenly Prabhupada left this world. And Prabhupada's practice, you know, Prabhupada was ill for some time before he left this world. And when Prabhupada got ill, in practically every case, because I remember I was there for some number of years before Prabhupada left this world, and Prabhupada would get sick from time to time. During those 5 or 6 or so years that I was present and Prabhupada was present, it was like, I would say at least every year there would be one occasion, and maybe more often, Prabhupada would really get quite sick. And you know what Prabhupada would do? He would stop initiating when he became ill. And the word got out. I mean, the word was sent out. Prabhupada's not initiating for the time being. And then later on, when his health improved, he would start initiating again. So the same sort of thing happened in the last few months. Just before he left this world, he stopped initiating. So there was a number of devotees around the world, the whole movement, who were already first initiated by Prabhupada and were candidates. They had been approved for second initiation, but Prabhupada was not giving initiation. So then they got second initiation from one of Prabhupada's disciples. And like I mentioned earlier, for some of them, Phew, digesting that was really not easy at all, but they did. They did. And I would say practically all of them received second initiation eventually from one of Prabhupada's disciples. So anyway, So through the initiation, one is officially connected to the parampara. Official connection. Yeah. And officially connected to Krishna. And the understanding is that Krishna officially accepts that person as one of his devotees and as a member of the disciplic succession. So then the Diksha Guru, of course, gives the spiritual name and accepts the vows and gives the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the case of first initiation, or with second initiation gives the Gayatri mantras. And at that time, or around that time, takes the sinful reactions of the disciple. Yeah. So many devotees, when they get first initiation, they feel a difference. Like within that hour or two of not being initiated, then there's the initiation ceremony, then this ceremony finishes, and they feel a difference, like some purification has taken place. Right, so those are the main points in regard to the Diksha Guru, who is generally just one, unless, it's really, generally only if the first initiating spiritual master passes away, that there would be a second Diksha Guru who gives Gayatri. And then it's up to the disciple. Who is the main guru? That's up to them to decide. Then the Siksha Guru, according to, you see there's a little note just beneath the box there. There's no limit to the number of instructing spiritual masters. And Prabhupada quotes the verse from its Caitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, verse 35. I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master, one, and all my instructing spiritual masters. And Prabhupada comments, we must read that. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. Okay, so anyway, the 2 points there are, gives instruction, of course, and does give a connection to the parampara, but not the official connection, usually. It's more like an informal connection. Now, I did say there are 2 other types of gurus, and you should note these. You should note these. I don't know if they're going to question you on them, but just for the sake of understanding spiritual masters properly, you should note these other 2. The first one is called Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru. And I will, you know what I'm going to do, devotees? I'm actually going to write it in the chat with the correct spelling so you can make a note of it. Whoops, hang on a sec. Chaitya Chaitya Guru. It is now in the chat. Chaitya Guru. Chaitya means the heart. This is the Guru in the heart. This is Krishna. Krishna is one of the Gurus. And he gives instruction through the heart. And he definitely gives instruction to the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual masters. He definitely does. How to help the disciples. So the second one, and to give you an example of the functioning of Chaitya Guru, listen to this. This is good. Sometimes a devotee has on their mind some question. What about this? What about that? These things happen. And it's on their mind for a little while. Suddenly, one day, they're sitting in class or they're reading one of Prabhupada's books. It's usually either of those two situations. And suddenly, the person giving class explains what the devotee has been wondering about. Yeah. And I mean, it's happened to me on numerous occasions. And you sit there thinking, wow, how did he know that I was concerned about this point? But he didn't know, actually. It was Krishna speaking through him to you. This is an example of Chaitya Guru. Or it may happen when you're reading Prabhupada's books and you finally, somehow you stumble on something and Prabhupada just explains what you were concerned about. It's also Chaitya Guru. I hope you get the idea. The Lord in the heart is one of the Gurus. He normally leaves most of it. He doesn't intervene so much. Generally, he leaves most of it to the living Guru instructing you. But sometimes he intervenes. Yeah. Because he's a person and he's involved in our lives. He's really involved in a personal capacity in our lives. So now there's another type of guru who is the least important, but is still one of the gurus. And this is called, I'll put it into just checking the spelling. I'll put an H in there. Right, so here we go. There it is. Vartma Pradarshaka Guru. A bit of a complicated term. Vartma Pradarshaka. And you do need to know this just for being a devotee. Vartma Pradarshaka means one who indicates the path, points you in the direction of the path. It may give a little instruction, but not like real instruction, like you've got to do this and you don't do that. That's the Diksha Guru and or the Siksha Guru. But someone who indicates, it's like an indicating person. Maybe you should do this. And there's a real classic example of this in Srimad Bhagavatam. If you're familiar enough with the 4th canto, there's the story of Dhruva Maharaj, who was a little boy, but he was a prince. But his father had two wives, And the other wife, not his biological mother of Dhruva, but the other one, was the favorite of the king. And because of that, her son was the favorite son of the king. And Dhruva, as the son of the sort of, number 2 wife, was neglected, was regularly neglected. And Dhruva, he's a little boy, he's like 5 years old, but he's a Kshatriya, a warrior. And the warriors, the Kshatriyas, they have a real sense that I'm a Kshatriya. You got to take me seriously. Yeah, so they have a type of pride. And therefore Dhruva, when he saw and he understood, actually, my sort of stepbrother or whatever you'd call him, the son of the other wife, he's getting preferential treatment to me. He saw that. In fact, his father pushed him off his lap and took the other boy and put him on his lap. And Dhruva saw, I just got rejected. So he went to his mother. Her name is Suniti. And he said, look at this, what happened? I just got thrown off my father's lap so he could accept his other son. This is really bad. I don't like it. He got really angry. And he told his mother, I'm going to show my father. I'm going to teach him a lesson. You don't treat me like this. He said, I am going to get a kingdom bigger than my father's. And then that'll show him who's important around here. So that was his determination. He's telling his mother this. And he asks his mother, how can I do this? Tell me how I can do this. And his mother, she's not a philosopher or anything like that, but she says, well, I don't know actually, but my suggestion is you pray to God. Pray to God. And I think in that way, God, he gives things and takes things. If you pray to God, maybe he'll give you a kingdom like that. And Dhruva said, okay, I'll do it. Where is he? Where's God? How do I find him? I want to find him now. Where is he? And Suniti, his mother, said, well, I don't know. But I heard that when people want to find God, they go to the forest. That's what they do. So maybe you should do that. And Dhruva said, right, that's it. And off he went, like literally on the spot. He was out the door in the forest. He left the palace. He's living in this massive, humongous palace, way, way beyond Buckingham Palace or any of these places, the White House. Out the door, into the forest. So, therefore, Suniti, his mother, who just indicated, she pointed the way. She's his Vartma Pradarshika Guru. And, sometimes devotees, they meet someone. Let me tell you another interesting little story. This will strike you deeply. Listen to this. One day, when I was living in Bhaktivedanta Manor, it was in the later 70s, one boy rolled up with his suitcase and said, here I am, I'm moving into the temple. Okay. So we asked him, oh, okay. What made you want to do that? What makes you want to do that? Did you get one of Prabhupada's books? No. Did you speak to one of the devotees? No. Well, where did you get the idea from? And the boy says, I mean, this is quite something. He said, I was in a pub. You know what a pub is? A public drinking house where the people gather, after work, the people gather, they drink some beer or some. I was in the pub and I met this guy and we were talking and we ended up talking about religion. And he said, of all the religions, the best is Hare Krishna. And this fellow, the other fellow who now has just rolled up to the temple to join, he said, really? Hare Krishna? Oh, I didn't know that. And the other fellow says, yeah, Hare Krishna, they're the best. And he says, I used to live in the temple, but I couldn't manage it. I just couldn't manage it. So I left the temple. But, I had experience and I know they're the best. So therefore the fellow walked out, packed his bag, and arrived at the temple. So this fellow, they're drinking beer. They're actually drinking beer together. But the other fellow was Vatma Pradarshika Guru. He just pointed the way, he indicated. In the case of Dhruva, in the forest, he met Narada Muni. And he asked Narada Muni, here I am, I'm trying to meet God, but how do I meet him? I was told, you meet him in the forest, but where? How to find God, how to meet God. And so Narada instructed him what to do. So Narada was at least the Siksha Guru. Yeah. He gave him many instructions, do this, don't do that, and gave him a whole program of what to do, and gave him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and told him, this is the main thing, you chant this mantra. Yeah. So he is at least the instructing spiritual master of Dhruva. But Dhruva finally, later on, his mother's still living, but later on he comes to the point of death. And by now he's a great pure devotee because he met God and he got Krishna's mercy. And so airplanes come from Vaikuntha to take him to the kingdom of God. And they're about to leave. And then he sees his mother, Suniti. She's running forward. She wants to get on. She wants to go back to Godhead. So he tells them, wait, stop. You must take my mother. And they do. Because he felt obliged. He felt obliged to his mother. Because even though, it was just very simple. Yeah, well, I think you should ask God. And where do I find him? Well, I don't know. I've heard that when people want to find God, they go to the forest. So Vatma Pradarshika Guru, just on quite a simple level, but still a form of guru. So therefore, he became more advanced than her. And by his mercy, she went back to Godhead. So devotees, so there you go. These are some thoughts on the subject of types of gurus. Now, on a very sort of down-to-earth and pragmatic level, the initiating guru, Diksha Guru, and instructing guru, Siksha Guru, are the most important because you can see them. The Krishna within the heart, you can't really see him. Although sometimes you see, wow, Krishna just made some arrangement. But the Diksha Guru and Siksha Guru are sort of much more obvious because they're visible. And they're regularly, I mean, in many cases, they'll be on a daily basis interacting with you. So, of course, the Chaita Guru, the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, don't underestimate the Chaita Guru, because he will intervene sometimes, and sometimes he'll do it in such a way that you see, wow, that was Krishna. He intervened. So, okay, but now the next point, and it's a very important point, it's at the bottom sort of the second half of page 12, is that ultimately the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual masters, plural, are equal. Yeah. They shouldn't, there is a tendency in ISKCON, and it's been recognized for years by the senior devotees, that in ISKCON, the initiating spiritual masters are generally taken much more seriously by the devotees, by their initiated disciples, than the Siksha Gurus. Yeah. I mean, in some cases, you get it, that a Siksha Guru becomes more prominent in the life of a devotee than their own initiating spiritual master. It happens, but it's not common. But the point in principle is that actually the initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal. And this is what's pointed out here, particularly in the first verse, which is quoted from Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, verse 134. And this is from the purport. This is Prabhupada speaking. The guru who first initiates one with the Mahamantra is to be known as the initiator, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. And then the second verse quoted is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Anyway, it's making the point, it seems to be making the point, that, it may easily be that the Siksha Gurus are more important. If you really find that a certain Siksha Guru is giving you such good instruction and regularly, he may become more prominent in your life. Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's carry on. What I'm going to do, now tell me, Bhakti Rasa, if this is okay. I'm thinking of going on till 12:30 and then handing over to you, or maybe asking for questions. What do you think?
Hare Krishna Srila Gurudev, we can go on to 12:30. If there's questions from the devotees, then we can do that for 15 minutes. But ideally, I only need 15 minutes to just take them through the admin for the course.
All right. Okay, fine. So we'll try and move on a little. I mean, when I do seminars, and I've done so many seminars over the years, I normally, the first session, I get into things in more detail, and then afterwards sort of, move things forward a little more quickly. So we'll see if we can do that now. Let's go over to page 13, right? Next page. And there's an explanation of what does this word diksha mean. And you can see at the top of the page that there are two translations of the same Sanskrit word. Divya Gyan in both places. Divya meaning transcendental, Gyan meaning knowledge, and Shapayati in one case meaning explain or destroy, and Iksha meaning to see or give you darshan. So, and it's quoted from Prabhupada's couple of classes of Prabhupada, how to understand these things. Yeah, so let's just read it a bit. Initiation, the word initiation suggests this is the beginning, to initiate something. This is the beginning. So there are two words, divya, jnana. Divya jnana means transcendental spiritual knowledge. So divya is D, and jnanam, shapayati, that is ksha. So this is diksha, the combination. So diksha means the initiation to begin transcendental activities. That's called initiation. Therefore, Prabhupada makes the disciples, we do, promise that you'll chant so many times, 16 rounds? Yes. Yes, sir. You'll follow these rules and regulations? Yes, sir. That is initiation. He has to observe. He has to. Then everything comes automatically. And then the second one, Sanskrit term is called diksha. Diksha means D, divya jnanam, transcendental knowledge, and ksha, iksha. Iksha means darshan, to see, or ksha shapayati, to explain. That is called diksha. So yeah, it's the beginning, obviously, initiate something, but it's based on the spiritual knowledge, which explains on one side, on one hand, destroys ignorance on another hand, and on a third hand, the knowledge, the divya gyan, the transcendental knowledge, gives you the ability to see the truth and to see, ultimately to see Krishna, but to see, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. Yeah, to see that, I need to chant, I need to follow regulative principles. This is like a type of seeing. Prabhupada said, a devotee sees through his ears. So, yeah, through getting the divya gyan, the essence of the diksha, you get to see, you get to understand the truth, what to do, what not to do, and your ignorance is destroyed. So that, in a nutshell, is the idea of diksha. And I'll carry on. Here now, look at this, bottom of page 13. Fasten your seatbelts. You definitely need to fasten your seatbelts for this. Anyway, I'm going to read the translation of this verse. It's from a literature called Vishnu Yamala, which is quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Sanatana Goswami, which Krishnadas Kaviraj, which Prabhupada quotes in a purport in Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 15, verse 108, which is extremely important in this context. And, you really got to get this, otherwise it can be confusing. So the verse says, unless one is initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, all his devotional activities are useless. A person who is not properly initiated can descend again into the animal species. How's that for heavy? That's heavy. And the next one, which is from Prabhupada, from the Nectar of Devotion, in the introduction, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established by initiation. So Prabhupada says the connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. How does that sound? Sounds pretty heavy, doesn't it? I mean, to me at least. Now, first of all, don't stress. I know, well, at least the majority of you you're not initiated. Don't stress like you are nowhere. You are no one. Maybe you're wasting your time already or something like that, because it's not precisely like that. And let me explain to you why. Because, where am I? Here I am. These two verses, or particularly, I would say, actually, particularly the first one from Vishnu Yamala. The second one, anyway, that's Prabhupada. So now the verse itself, you see that Vishnu Yamala, the first of the two verses, is quoted from Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 15, verse 108. All right. Devotees, I'm going to read to you right now the translation of Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 15, verse 108. All right. Here it is. Listen carefully. One does not have to undergo initiation or execute the activities required before initiation. And incidentally, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking, as I recall. One simply has to vibrate the holy name with his lips. Thus, even a man or a woman, don't forget what I said earlier, is generic use. Thus, even a man in the lowest class, Chandala, can be delivered. And devotees, don't mind me saying it, but that's sort of us. Yeah. Maybe not Chandalas, because that means dog eater, but at least meat eaters. Now, isn't that interesting? I mean, it's super interesting that the verses said you don't have to be initiated. You simply have to vibrate the holy name. And plus, here's another verse which is not mentioned right here, but I'm sure you've heard it many, many times. Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasjeva, 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 Gatir Anyata. You heard that verse, right? Right, you've heard that verse. Chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names of Hari, Krishna. In Kali Yuga, there's no other way, no other way, no other way. Gatir anyata, to achieve the goal of life. Gati. So in other words, don't stress. You have not been wasting your time the last X number of months or years. I know for some of you it's been a good number of years. Chanting 16 rounds, following the regulative principles, associating with the devotees, doing some service, etc., etc. I know all of you have been doing this at least to some degree, and some of you have been doing it for 10 years or, I don't know, for a good period of time. So the thing is this, that these statements by Srila Prabhupada, well, actually, the first one is from Vishnu Yamala, and Prabhupada's just quoting it, that, anyway, that verse, that if you're not initiated, all your devotional activities, oh my God, they're useless. You might as well have slept and eaten, and that's all. Oh my Lord. But it's not exactly like that. Yeah. So, and there's an indication in the second verse, not verse, but what Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion. He says at the end of what's quoted there, without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. Now, the thing is this. We just read, before we read these two little extracts, we just read, didn't we, how the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master are equal. Are you with me? Are you with me? Samnoi, yeah. So, they're equal. Although in ISKCON, the initiating gurus are almost always, top of the hit parade with their disciples compared to the Siksha gurus. So guess what, devotees? You've all been serving and practicing under Srila Prabhupada as Siksha Guru for the last however long. And that's his part in your life is at least equal to that of an initiating spiritual master. So therefore, the connection is already there, and it is real. It's just not as strong as it is after initiation. And of course, it becomes stronger as time goes on after initiation, because you make progress, you get into it more and more and more. That's just, life in Krishna consciousness, at least it should be. And so before initiation, you are a devotee. You're not like a non-entity. You're not like a non-devotee. You are a devotee, but not as much. And you're under the shelter of Prabhupada. He is your guru, your Siksha guru, up to the point of initiation. After initiation, he remains at least one of your Siksha gurus, and generally the most important of your Siksha gurus. But he's not your Diksha guru, because he didn't give you initiation. I mean, initiation is a specific phenomenon, a specific thing. So, and then, the verse itself, which that one, the Vishnu Yamala quote was from, how was that? It's amazing, isn't it? You don't need to be initiated. Oh my God. Is this spiritual schizophrenia or what? Well, it's not spiritual schizophrenia. Don't stress about it. The point is, and like I said, it's kind of partially there in the Nectar of Devotion quote, the connection, the actual connection means, the solid, the really solid connection is there with initiation. But before that, the connection's there, but it's not as solid. But it's there. Yeah, based on your accepting instruction from Prabhupada, following the instructions, and worshipping Prabhupada as Guru, which we all do. Yeah. So therefore, don't stress too much. Is that okay? What do you think, Astra? Что вы думаете? I'm asking you a question, Astra. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What do you think of that? You may need to digest it a bit.
I think so. So far, it's understandable from.
You're okay?
Yes.
All right. You speak Russian, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I'm also speaking Russian.
Yeah, тоже. Okay, anyway. Okay, devotees, so I'm going to leave it at that for today. And I will see you tomorrow, 2 hours earlier than we met today. But does anyone have a question or a comment which I could briefly address? It looks like Davidji. Yeah? You can...
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, yes, this section with regards to I'm not initiated, and this scares me because it's been 8 years, and so that's scaring me now. So if you can please help me with this, as well as I had another question with
hang on, let's just deal with this one first. Yeah, I mean, it is scary because Prabhupada says it, and, we take Prabhupada extremely seriously. But, he says it in the purport to a verse, and the verse says, you don't need to be initiated. So in other words, there is subtlety there. It's not schizophrenia. Like you've got to stand up and sit down simultaneously or something like that. It's not like that. But the thing is that there is a type of synthesis that we have to draw. Yeah. And synthesis, I mean, in terms of degree. In terms of degree, initiation is vital. If particularly if someone refuses initiation, they could be initiated and there's someone available to initiate them, but they decide, no, I don't want to be initiated. That's a serious problem. It's a very serious problem. Because you have to be initiated. It's such an essential part of just the whole formula, the whole of what Krishna consciousness is. And if you're not initiated, and if it happens that you happen to be thinking, well, I don't know if I need to be initiated. I'm doing okay. I mean, I'm chanting and something like that. Then those statements are there to wake you up and make you think,
okay.
wow, hey, I didn't think of that. I better take this more seriously. Yeah. That's what they're there for, actually. They're wake-up calls. Yeah. So, and, if you read and listen to Prabhupada regularly, you'll see that Srila Prabhupada says you have to be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. How many times? I mean, now we're talking about, it's almost like every page of his books. Or if not that, but it's, hundreds of times. Yeah. So therefore, the presence, of it being stated once or twice in these contexts, one is from some other literature. It's not Prabhupada's words. And the literature itself is very secondary, Vishnu Yamala. It's not that now, right, that's it. That's it, end of story. No, we've got to see the context. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, you wanted to say something else, yeah?
Regarding the Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru, can you serve, but I think you answered that we can serve our Siksha Guru, whereas our Diksha Guru may be internationally based, and we have a Siksha Guru that's within the temple where we base, so it is possible.
Oh, yes. No, you should, because Siksha Guru means guru. Means the person has that sort of standing in your eyes, in your heart. It's not just some senior devotee, who says some nice things, but this is someone you accept them like a guru, but you don't get initiated by them. Yeah, so the relationship is very deep. It's not just like an occasional relationship or something. So therefore, the person is a guru figure in your life. And so they must be respected. And particularly if you have regular association with them, you must render service. Because if you know, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 34, Tadvadi pranipatena pariprashanena sevaya, how we should relate with the spiritual master. There are two things. Pariprashanena means we must ask questions, and sevaya, we must render service to the guru. And if someone is a guru figure in your life, and not just, a nice devotee, I like spending some time with them. They say some nice things sometimes, but really a deep relationship of being instructed meaningfully in your life, then they should be worshipped and served. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you.
Okay, no. And anyone who we can't get to, you can always write and we will answer every single thing. Don't worry. So I saw Jessica. Jessica, there you are. What's your question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. My question was about initiation, because I'm going to ask, it's not really like a question, it's based on my experience. So before joining the Krishna consciousness, I had, this was in 2019 to 20, I had taken a fast called Daniel fast, which most Christian people do, is about 21 days fast. So when I did the fast, my first dream was this Indian man who called me in this room, and it was kind of a flat. So went into the room. There were many other people seated around, and they told me to go and sit right in the middle where he was seated. And where he was seated inside, he didn't have a top. You know, he just was covered down, and the top he was just didn't have not even a t-shirt. And then he said, I need to purify you. I need to purify you and cleanse you. But before also entering the room, I remember they gave me a bucket of water to wash my feet. And when I got out of this bucket, it was just mud that was left in the bucket. So entering the room, sitting down with him, he's talking, putting some stuff into this fire that was right in the middle of this room. And when he's putting those stuff inside, what he was speaking in his eyes, the flames were like becoming so big and so huge. And then at the same time, he was melting some golden liquid, which he took and then placed on my head. And then when they were coming down, he said, I need to drink from them. And I was drinking from them. I saw so many things in that place. The room was full of smokes up until the whole smoke came out and came down. And then he told me, I am done with you. You can stand and go. And I joined Krishna Consciousness. I would say this was in 2020. I think it's the very same time after my fasting. And speaking to one of the friends I was doing actually this fasting with, she told me everything was perfect. And with me, nothing was perfect. Only this dream that came to me. Okay. Nothing else worked. Everything that I had planned didn't work. Only the dream that came to me. Then I spoke to one of the elder women who used to be a friend of mine and say, look at what I've dreamed. I dreamed this Indian man actually, cleansing me and doing some kind of ritual. And inside this room, there was fire. He keep on putting things in this fire blaze and, the smoke and the whole place. And then when he finished with everything, he told me to go out. Then only this week, actually, reading, because I'm still reading Prabhupada, Messenger of the Supreme. That's the book. Okay. Then when I reached on page 59, going up to page 62, this is the first initiation that Srila Prabhupada has given to his first devotees in America.
Right.
And it is explaining and detailing my dream from stage 1 to everything that had happened in that dream is what is written in this book on that page.
Okay,
so
I get it.
We're speaking of initiation, and only now, after seeing many of pictures of Srila Prabhupada, that's when I could now recall to this Indian man who is Srila Prabhupada himself, who was doing that initiation for me in the room. So my question is, will I say that I am already initiated? Or will I still proceed with my initiation?
No, you must still proceed, because this is, it's a dream. It's an indication. You're being pointed in the direction. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so don't worry. Don't stress. It's okay. It's good.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. So let's see. Shall I carry on? What do you say? There's a couple more.
Yeah, there's we can, Srila Gurudev, we can. I do only need a few minutes, so we can take a few more questions.
Okay. So we'll just there's two more, Kadruta and Radha Shakti. Anyone else who has a question or just something, clarification or just comment also, you can write. Yeah, and we will answer. Absolutely. Right, so I think next is Kadruta, am I right?
Correct.
Kadruta?
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I have a short question for you. If an aspiring disciple, before take initiation, must be responsible, of course, not to affect his Guru with his faults from the past or something like this.
So should the aspiring disciple what?
Must be responsible if he has many sins from his past and he is not pure enough. Must he accept initiation or not? Because can affect his Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. No, he or she must, definitely must. And this is something we're going to go through, I think must be tomorrow, that at the time of initiation or around the time of initiation, the sins, from even many lifetimes, they're cleansed through the process of initiation. They're taken by Krishna. He takes them. The spiritual master may get some effect, but the great majority of the effect of absorbing all that sin and getting rid of all that sin, it goes to Krishna through the process of initiation. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Dandava pranams.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Radha Shakti Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to make a comment really about initiation, which is so important and to me. But that also that in temple service, I'm just constantly reminded of how much service that we want to do for the Lord's depends on the level of initiation we have.
That's true.
So.
That's a good comment. Particularly second initiation, you're allowed to worship, install deities like the main deities in our main temples. It's a big thing. It's not a small thing. So with each, the two main initiations, first and second, part and parcel of both is certain facility is given to you through the initiation. The second initiation is very obvious. You can worship the deities. But even the first initiation, you're given the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You already got it. Obviously, because you got to chant 16 rounds for, however long, a year or whatever it is. Otherwise, you'll never get first initiation. But still, at the time of the first initiation, you are given the Hare Krishna mantra. It's subtle. It's not exactly visible, but you are given the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on a deeper level than you have already had it. Yeah. And so therefore, when devotees have received first initiation, if they really take it seriously, that's also an important factor. We got to take these things seriously. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your time. Particularly if you really don't take it seriously. But if you really do take it seriously, you'll find your chanting becomes a whole different experience. And so many devotees, it's my own experience many years ago when I received first initiation, but many devotees have made that comment to me, having received first initiation.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. And I found that myself, that since initiation, the chanting is so sweet, and I just can't wait for the next round.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. You're making progress. Okay, so I will hand over to you, Bhakti Rasa, and, you just take things ahead as you like. And everybody else, like I said, any other questions, just send them to me now or today. I'll try and answer them by tomorrow. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow, 2 hours earlier then we met today. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hey, Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.